Okay, let's unpack this. What if humanity's grand story of progress, from our very first cities and these ancient wonders right up to the dizzying pace of cutting-edge tech today, what if it wasn't just a series of random leaps, by individual geniuses, I mean? What if there's been like a subtle guiding hand, a silent architect maybe, steering our civilization all along, weaving an unseen thread through history? Today, we're taking a deep dive into a truly radical, but I think incredibly compelling hypothesis that a hidden collective consciousness on Earth has been actively seeding our public civilization, quietly guiding us throughout history, right up to the present day. So forget what you think you know about isolated discoveries, those random bursts of ingenuity. Our sources, well, they paint a picture of something far more profound.
It really is a profound thought experiment. It challenges our most fundamental assumptions about, individual genius, societal evolution, even our place in the cosmos, really. We'll explore a unified theory suggesting that beneath the surface of our individual experiences, beneath all the chaos of human history, maybe a deeper planetary awareness has been at play. It's an awareness influencing everything, potentially, from our earliest urban centers and monumental architecture to our most modern scientific and technological breakthroughs. Our mission today is really to sift through these fascinating sources and uncover the threads of this extraordinary possibility, to see how this hidden hand might manifest itself.
Yeah, we've got a lot to get into. From the mysterious gods of antiquity, the pyramids, right up to, UFOs and the internet. Get ready for some serious aha moments, because what we're about to explore might just change how you view, everything. So to start, when we talk about a collective consciousness, what exactly are we defining here? Is it just like people sharing ideas and culture, or is it something far more fundamental, more pervasive?
That's a really crucial distinction we need to make right out of the gate. While sociology, through figures like Durkheim, talks about collective consciousness as shared social beliefs, norms, identities within a group, essentially the common understanding that binds a society. Our deep dive is exploring something far more literal, more profound. We're looking at what our sources call a literal underlying field of awareness.
The literal field.
Yeah. Think of it not just as shared thoughts, but as a higher order awareness that transcends individual minds. Imagine it perhaps as a global brain or even a planetary mind, an emergent property of humanity as a whole, operating on a totally different scale than our individual cognition.
So it's not just a philosophical idea or something that might happen in the future. You're saying the sources suggest it's here now.
Yes, the sources propose that this isn't merely a concept or a future possibility, but an existing reality. This hidden collective consciousness, in this view, is already here, subtly shaping human culture, cognition, experience across time, influencing everything from spiritual insights to tech leaps, societal structures.
Okay,
Wow.
Exactly. The sources present what you might call a spiritual hypothesis, suggesting this is a living field of awareness. It's often described in various traditions, the world soul, the body of Christ, the anima mundi, or maybe the storehouse consciousness in Buddhism. It's largely hidden from our ordinary sort of ego-bound perception. There's also an esoteric hypothesis which summarizes this beautifully. The one mind veils itself as many, and the many dream themselves as separate. Yet, mystics and sages throughout history report direct, often ineffable experiences of this shared unity, describing it as a dissolution of the separate self into something larger.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me, because it starts to sound familiar, even within mainstream psychology. Think about Carl Jung's concept of the collective unconscious. He talked about universal archetypes, the hero, the mother, the sage. These shared, inherited psychic structures, like a mental blueprint we all carry.
Precisely. And while Jung didn't quite posit it as a single active guiding mind in the way our hypothesis does,
Right. It absolutely points to a deep common ground in our shared human experience. It suggests that on some level, we are all drawing from the same well of fundamental patterns and symbols.
like a shared psychic operating system.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
So if this collective consciousness exists and subtly guides us, how would we expect to see it manifest way back in our past? What kind of tangible evidence might we find?
This brings us to what our sources call the pedagogy hypothesis for ancient civilizations. It suggests that the gods of antiquity, those powerful, often enigmatic figures in mythologies across the globe, weren't necessarily, say, extraterrestrials, but maybe symbolic or even semi-autonomous manifestations of this collective consciousness. Their role in this view, to seed fundamental knowledge, societal structures, into early humanity, like the original teachers.
Architects even.
Architects, exactly.
So give me an example, like where would we see that?
Well, think about the sudden, almost inexplicable advancements in places like Sumer, often called the cradle of civilization.
Right, writing, cities.
Exactly. Within a relatively short period, they rapidly developed writing, complex agriculture, math, astronomy, urban planning, sophisticated legal systems. It wasn't slow, gradual. It almost seemed to appear fully formed. And then there are the monumental works, the Great Pyramid at Giza, the colossal megaliths of Baalbek. Their sheer scale, the precision, the engineering knowledge they represent, it still baffles modern science.
It really does.
The hypothesis suggests these weren't just human innovations, but knowledge seeded by the collective, guiding human ingenuity to build structures that embodied advanced principles, maybe energetic or astronomical knowledge we don't fully grasp.
Okay, but what about the way these gods often appeared? Awe-inspiring, sometimes even terrifying in the old stories. Why so imposing if the goal was just guidance? Why not a more, gentle approach?
That's a crucial element, and our sources frame it as the prime directive aspect of this theory. The imposing or awe-inspiring nature wasn't necessarily about subjugation. It was maybe about enforcing cultural discipline and, importantly, selective revelation.
Selective revelation.
Yeah, imagine if early humanity received all advanced knowledge at once. It could be overwhelming, right? Maybe even destructive. So this prime directive ensured teachings were absorbed cautiously, gradually. It preserved human autonomy, allowing us to evolve and integrate knowledge at our own pace.
Preventing us from being overwhelmed or getting technology we weren't ready for.
Exactly. A form of controlled instruction designed for long-term sustainable growth.
So this guidance wasn't just about building cities or tracking stars. It could also be about profound ethical and spiritual teachings. Figures like Jesus or Hermes Trismegistus. Their radical insights could also be part of this.
Precisely. The manifestation hypothesis posits exactly that figures we regard as cultural exemplars or spiritual titans, Jesus, Hermes, Buddha, others, and their transformative teachings. They are expressions of this collective consciousness breaking through the veil.
Wow.
Rather than just isolated individual actions, this view sees them as carefully timed, localized outpourings of universal wisdom.
So Jesus' focus on peace, compassion, unity, turning the other cheek.
Yes. Those can be seen not just as individual moral precepts, but as reflecting a core ethical orientation of the collective itself, designed to guide humanity towards greater integration, greater harmony. It's about unifying consciousness, not fragmenting it.
It's truly fascinating to consider this guiding hand way back then shaping our foundations. But, okay, this sounds a bit like myth and legend. Does the hypothesis extend into the modern era? Does it touch on our technology?
Absolutely. And this is where it gets really provocative, I think. The pedagogy hypothesis can be extended to modern staged events that seem to defy conventional explanation, but appear to trigger significant societal shifts. We'll take the infamous UFO crash at Roswell in 1947. Mainstream accounts often dismiss it, right? Weather balloon, whatever. But our sources point to things like FBI vault documents, mentioning not just one, but two other similar UFO crashes nearby around the same time. And perhaps more compellingly, Colonel Philip J. Corso, who was involved in military tech transfers, wrote a whole book detailing how advanced tech allegedly recovered from Roswell was secretly fed into industry and academia, sparking revolutionary developments.
And the timing there is just, it's striking, isn't it? Just months after Roswell, December 47, Bell Labs develops the first working transistor.
Exactly. That timing seems incredibly coincidental, or from this perspective, perhaps not coincidental at all.
Right.
It could be interpreted not as literal alien visitation, but as carefully orchestrated seed events by the collective consciousness, introducing advanced concepts like a controlled leak, inspiring innovation like the transistor, which then catalyzes the entire digital revolution.
But subtly, without revealing the source.
Precisely. It maintains that prime directive. Measured, human-led progress. Humanity still has to work for it, earn the advancements through its own ingenuity, rather than just being handed everything. It's a nudge, not a takeover.
And that brings us to today, right? With all the renewed government interest in UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, could that also fit this pattern, this pedagogical seeding?
Indeed. Contemporary UAP engagement can definitely be seen as a modern pedagogical layer in this potential ongoing guidance. The increased government investigations, the public disclosures of military footage, the media focus all of it seeds curiosity, critical thinking, both in the public and scientific communities.
Pushing us to look closer.
Exactly. It drives inquiry, inspires experimentation, advanced propulsion, materials science, energy, all while maintaining that crucial veil. It's a controlled exposure. It encourages us to actively engage with these advanced concepts, to reach for them, rather than just passively receiving. To look up, question our assumptions, push the boundaries.
This sounds like a very deliberate long-term strategy, almost like a planetary scale education system. Now, we've heard Richard Dolan's concept of a breakaway civilization, these advanced groups operating outside the mainstream, maybe with cutting-edge tech. Could that fit into this?
It integrates quite well, actually, offers another layer to this complex picture. A breakaway civilization could be understood not necessarily as some nefarious shadow government, but maybe as a collective guided phenomenon.
How so?
Imagine it as a kind of hidden seed of advancement where certain groups, maybe unknowingly guided, accelerate tech or social development in relative isolation, serving as experimental incubators for knowledge, developing advancements in a controlled environment before those ideas or technologies are gradually introduced into the mainstream when the collective judges were ready.
Like a living laboratory.
Exactly, a living laboratory for future societal norms or tech applications, all still within that ethical framework of the Prime Directive.
But importantly, you're saying the sources suggest these groups wouldn't be inherently evil or controlling.
That's the implication from these sources, yes. Their actions would ultimately align with principles of positive social outcomes, maybe mirroring those unifying teachings we mentioned: compassion, unity, responsible stewardship. Any apparent secrecy or even actions that seem negative from our perspective might be a misunderstanding of their protected role, or perhaps human choices within that group going astray, rather than the collective's design itself. The aim isn't control, but evolution.
Okay, this raises the huge question, though. If this collective consciousness is so advanced and its intentions are ultimately positive, why all the secrecy? Why the veil? Why not just reveal itself, make contact, speed things up?
This really is the core of the secrecy hypothesis, or what the sources call Hypothesis 3, the veil of secrecy as evolutionary protection. The idea is the collective intentionally veils itself precisely to safeguard human autonomy, our individuation, the natural process of cultural evolution.
How would revealing itself harm that?
Well, consider the implications of premature full disclosure. It could stifle human self-discovery, right? Prevent us from developing our unique civilization through our own efforts. It might short-circuit the whole maturation process. If all the answers were just handed to us, would we truly learn? Would we truly become ourselves?
Like getting the answers before figuring out the questions.
Something like that. There's an esoteric maxim quoted in the sources. The light is veiled, lest the seeds sprout before its season, for only the ripened fruit may return to the tree.
That's beautiful.
It is, isn't it? It suggests humanity needs to go through the struggles, the challenges, the apparent separation, the journey of self-discovery to truly mature, to become that ripened fruit. The veil ensures advancement happens responsibly, sustainably, fostering genuine growth, conscious integration, not just a forced, unearned leap. It protects our free will in a way, allowing us to choose our path, albeit within a subtly guided framework.
So, okay, bringing this down to earth, what does this all mean for us, for you listening? As individuals living our everyday lives, how does this connect to the bigger picture of human experience, consciousness itself?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this hidden collective consciousness isn't just about external guidance or grand history. It's profoundly about our own internal evolution, the nature of consciousness. The concept resonates really strongly with Teilhard de Chardin's new sphere, his vision of a converging sphere of mind around Earth, a planetary superorganism.
Right, and he saw the internet as its nervous system, potentially.
He did, yeah, even before it was widespread. And that aligns strikingly with Ray Kurzweil's law of accelerating returns, this idea of hierarchical evolution towards increasingly complex holons, physics, chemistry, life, brains, technology, potentially merging into a higher order consciousness. It suggests a natural, ongoing process of integration.
And you see echoes of this in spiritual traditions too, right?
Oh, absolutely, across the board. In Christianity, for example, the mystical body of Christ can be seen not just metaphorically, but perhaps esoterically, as a collective consciousness,
Yeah.
a shared spiritual organism where all individuals are interconnected. And those radical teachings of Jesus we mentioned, turning the other cheek, the kingdom of heaven is within you, blessed are the meek, they make profound sense from a collective, non-egoic perspective.
They're not just moral commands.
They're descriptions of a state of unity, where there is no other to fight, only parts of the same whole, an invitation to align with this deeper, unifying consciousness.
Even thinking about Revelation, the imagery of the New Jerusalem coming down to earth, could that be a metaphor for this collective consciousness becoming fully integrated with humanity? Dissolving separate nations, like smashing pottery, not violently, but just dissolving identities into a unified whole.
Exactly. It parallels things like the alchemical concept of the rebus, the union of opposites, to create a perfected, unified being. You see similar themes in Sufism's Svana, the annihilation of the separate self, not into nothingness, but into a divine ocean of unity. Or Buddhism's teachings on interconnectedness and the storehouse consciousness, the alaya vijnana, a shared ground of being under individual minds. All these traditions, diverse cultures, different millennia, seem to point towards this ultimate, fundamental oneness.
This raises an incredible, philosophical question, really.
Yeah.
If some people are part of this collective consciousness more directly or experience this seamless unity, how would they even explain it? To those of us who perceive ourselves as purely individual, our language, our perception, it's all about I and you, separation.
It's a key puzzle, isn't it? It's almost like asking a single neuron in your brain to explain the consciousness of the entire brain to another neuron.
Yeah, impossible.
Our language, our ordinary ego-bound perception, it's just so geared towards individuality, discrete units of self. The experience of seamless unity, of being part of this vast, interconnected consciousness, it would likely be truly ineffable, beyond our normal descriptive capacity. Isaac Asimov's fictional planet Gaia, remember that, where there's no individual I, only a collective we. It captures that perfectly.
So we might already be part of it, just unable to see it.
That's a possibility raised by this hypothesis. We might be inherently part of it, simply unable to perceive its vastness and our connection because our current mode of consciousness is so focused on the individual. The veil isn't just external, it's internal too, woven into our perception.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a lot. From the earliest cities, ancient pyramids, to modern UAPs, the internet, all through this lens of a hidden collective consciousness, potentially guiding humanity, silently. Subtly. It's a hypothesis that really does shift your understanding of human progress, individual genius, our place in the cosmos.
It really does. And it leaves us with some profound questions. If a hidden collective consciousness has been subtly guiding our evolution, what does that truly mean for our perceived free will, our individual destiny? And how might we, as individuals, consciously align with such a force? Not to lose ourselves, but maybe to find a deeper, more integrated self. Recognizing that our individual journey is intrinsically tied to the collective's journey towards greater awareness, greater unity.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other truths might be veiled, just waiting for us, awaiting our conscious discovery, just beyond the edge of our individual perception? We certainly hope this deep dive has given you plenty to mull over and maybe explore on your own.